voice of growth, mastering the mind and market. Welcome to the Voice of Growth podcast, Mastering the Mind and Market. My name is Manny Teran, and I'm your host. The truth. We're all seeking some form of the truth. The truth in business, the truth in relationships, the truth in everyday life. But even me saying that, we're looking for some form of truth, is already giving you some ideas that this may not be an easy task altogether. You see, the truth is reality without distortion. That's sort of the general definition of that word. I'm going to give the Voice of Growth Profectory version in a bit, but that's the version that is generally acceptable. That is without opinion, ego, narrative. It's basically whatever reality is without that extra distortion. And if you look at the Stoic principles, there are two elements of them that really shine light on how we can, as Stoics, work through, find, and then ultimately act upon the truth. The first of which is wisdom, the ability to see clearly. So when we have wisdom, we, in a manner of speaking, are at a higher vantage point to be able to see further with more clarity. And ultimately, that comes with, not oftentimes, but most times, it comes with age. It comes with self-reflection. It comes with sitting in the yuck, like we've talked about in the past, sitting with these problems, sitting with the pain, the suffering, and realizing and working your way through it. All that will bring you wisdom. The other element of that is courage. Courage to act upon whatever needs to be acted upon with relation to truth. The Voice of Growth perspective on truth is that although it is an alignment with reality, it happens both on the external world and the internal world. What that means is that you recognize as an entrepreneur, as somebody who is doing the work, that whatever you see in the world, the perceived elements, whether that's sight, whether that's you heard something, whether that you're somehow able to bring those sensory elements into your mind, when you actually realize that it's going through a filter, no matter what you do, that will begin one layer of uncovering the truth. So there are many elements we can deal with to understand the truth, but the only ones we can really, truly have command over is ourselves. If you look at what's happening on the outside, there are things you can do, and there's tons of hacks, there's tons of gurus. There are the Chris Vosses of the world, there are the Chase Hugheses of the world, there are the Robert Cialdinis. These are all people that have dedicated their life to understanding the way people think, understanding ethical influence, understanding negotiation. So there's elements you can control within your own discussion points, within your own actions, to try to harness and handle the outside world. I like that word better than control the outside world, because we all already know you can't do that. So the better you can harness the outside world, the better you can then get to a point, to use that analogy again of higher vantage point, to get to the point where you stand atop a place where you can look down and see things more clearly. Those things might be customer conversations. Those things might be things you see with your competitors. Those things might be a conversation with a couple of employees that are fighting among one another. This could be litigation. You're going through some issues with litigation, whether you're on one side or the other. You're always seeking some elements of the truth. So the more you can understand how to harness those elements, the more powerful you'll be, and the better place the second part will become, and that is the internal side, the internal truth. These are your real motivations. These are your fears, your avoidance patterns, your biases, and your actual capabilities versus the stories you tell yourself about them. One of the most powerful things that you can do as a business person, as a leader, is to sit and do some level of an assessment, a true assessment of the kind of capabilities and acumen that you truly have. Sometimes it's very eye-opening. If you have a trusted person that you can ask, you're still going to get some bias, obviously, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But the more you can get critique about your actual capabilities, your actual acumen, the better then you are prepared to work through them and arrive at a place where you can then begin the real work. The real work. We hear that a lot as well. Are you going to do the real work to get through this? Are you going to do the real work? And ultimately, that's up to you. The real work is you define what that actually means. For some people, that means they go to a retreat, a silent retreat for 2 weeks, and they sit in silence and they work through their emotional baggage without a pen and paper, just themselves for 2 weeks. I guarantee if you do that, you'll come out of that 2-week period a changed person. Whether the work is with plant medicines and ayahuasca and these other elements with traditional tribal medicine that with the right guides can open up an entirely new way of thinking and help you to arrive at your own personal truth. A lot of people, unfortunately, turn to the bottle, turn to drugs and other vices to try to obscure and create distance from that reality of the truth of who they are. I have known people, wouldn't say I personally had any very significant problems, but I did have a point in my life where I was drinking too much and I was trying to hide the truth from myself. And the party mentality was one of the elements that I used to do that. If you can sit in clean, sober space, irrespective of the pain that it might cause in the moment, I guarantee if you work your way through it, you'll come out at a stronger, better place. Most people don't fail from a lack of intelligence or opportunity. They fail because they avoid the truth. When you understand the truth, that's the first element. When you're ready to act upon it and do something about it, that is where the power comes from. We've talked about it a second ago regarding courage and wisdom. Wisdom is what gives you the ability to see that within yourself. And then courage gives you the ability to then flex your muscle and do something about it. People avoid this. It's uncomfortable. It destroys your ego. It destroys your sense of self, or at least maybe pushes on it. And it forces change if you're ready for it. A lot of people, they push back on that. They create space from that, and it sometimes wanes and waxes as the moon does. And I highly suggest that you take the time to herald back to an older podcast and sit in stillness. Sit with the truth. Do your best to uncover the truth. You don't have to do a 2-week retreat, but if you do, more power to you. For me, it's quiet mornings. For me, it's coffee, sitting outside without my phone, reflecting on my day. With me, it's taking walks with my partner. With me, it's taking the time driving home from work with some EDM music, which is my form of sort of getting inspired. Whatever it is for you, take that time so that you're constantly searching for the truth in a manner in which will give you light and that higher vantage point. The definition that we use for the truth is radical alignment with reality, both internal and external, with a disciplined action afterwards. So you perceive the reality of what it is, you radically align with that reality, and then you do everything in your power to internally and externally be aligned with that and then you act upon it. I say act upon it because that's the piece that many people avoid. People know they're having issues. People understand they have issues. People see the truth, but they skirt around it. Their ego is too powerful to allow them to go down in vulnerability and say, okay, these are truths about me that I need to accept and study and put out there so that I can address them. As an engineer, I cannot solve a problem unless I know what it is. Having a clear sight of yourself, of who you are, no matter whatever your ego will tell you, if you feel the need to write it down quickly before you get your mind trying to justify around it, write it down. Use that as your anchor to then understand how to grow from it. I know this podcast sometimes can get a little philosophical. I know that sometimes it feels slightly out of reach. But I encourage you to rewatch these podcasts, to spend time with yourself. Hell, you can ask ChatGPT, what do I do about this and that? And it'll give you a framework to be able to then look deeper into your own truth and create then a plan to better yourself, which is the pursuit of that truth, that radical alignment with reality, internal, external, with the disciplined action afterwards. If you look at what is the ultimate arbiter of the truth, what can show you the truth is not words, not intentions, not stories, not narratives, results. Results. Results sometimes come in the form of burying that seed in the ground, cultivating it, watering it, taking care of it for a long time before it actually produces fruit. Sometimes results, although rarely, are immediate. Sometimes things occur in the middle. The whole idea here is if you're chasing and looking for the truth in yourself, if you expect the truth from people around you with the understanding that you may not get it, then you can start to live a life where you get momentum from so many things. I recently was in the middle of a situation where the truth was somehow obscured. My concept of the truth and their concept of the truth were not aligned. There was a central component that was aligned. There was some things that were sort of structurally the same, but there were small elements that were likely a miscommunication or a misreading of something that then created the divide. And I was fortunate enough to be able to have a conversation with some folks and sort of clear the air, although these things, they take time. To herald back to another podcast where we talked about being kind to yourself, realizing that these things are going to occur in life, especially in business. Business is a sort of microcosm of the way we live and vice versa. I take elements that I learned from business and I apply them to my personal life and vice versa. Emotional intelligence is extremely powerful in business, and the better command you can have of it, that first rung of the ladder, the better command you have of this vessel, you can then go out and learn how to harness and work with the powers that are around you, your employees, your vendors, the market at large, and then ultimately go towards your competitors, your customers, and all that. And that is the beauty of business is you get to do that. You get to have the audacity to go and lose a sale and learn about it. You have the audacity to go out and try a marketing campaign and it doesn't work. You have the audacity and the blessing of grit. Man, grit is such a blessing. When you fall straight on your ass for something that you try to do and you get back up, that's a gift. That's a gift you're giving yourself. That's an opportunity for yourself to get back inward, to find that truth and adjust your actions to then create and get results. If you fall again, you get up again. If you fall yet again, you get up yet again. You're always one up from that last fall. And I guarantee if you continue doing that, eventually there'll come a point where you don't fall and you climb a little higher and a little higher. And then maybe you fall from there, but then you're at a higher point. So then you're higher and higher and higher. And there's some people I know that fall all the way down. They're at this high vantage point in life. They've got the huge success elements. They've got the money. They've got whatever the success elements are for them. They have all these things. They have the 3 houses. They have the yacht. They have all these things, and it all comes crashing down, and they sulk in it for a bit. They dust themselves off. We've talked about this. They breathe, and then ultimately they recommit to their vision, and they go do it again. I've seen it done. I've done it myself, and that's all we can do. And that the pursuit of that is in some ways the pursuit of truth, and in some other ways, it's the pursuit of your own vision, and that is so much fun, and we get to do that every day. Thanks for listening. Cheers.